The crown of the continent was born May 11, 1910, when President Taft signed the bill naming it Glacier National Park. It was young and so full of beauty and promise, but it was unknown to Americans. This is the Glacier Park debut, the unveiling of the American Alps, sponsored by the Great Northern Railway. The network of chalets built by the Great Northern Railway was created for the marketing of Glacier National Park in competition with the European Alps. In the 1900s, it was very obvious and alarming that Americans were spending their vacations and American dollars on traveling in Europe. Senator Tillman of South Carolina stated, "It is very ridiculous to me to see the amount of money spent by Americans to see the scenery of Europe without having first seen what we have at home." Along with George Bird Grinnell and others insisting recommendations, Senator Tillman's comment was an influence that helped tip the scales in the decision to set aside Glacier as a national park. The Great Northern Railway stepped up to the plate and had a strong hand in developing Glacier. Using the inspiration of Senator Tillman's comment, President Lewis W. Hill of the Great Northern Railway launched the See America First campaign with the expectation that it would increase revenues by adding passenger trains to their already successful freight line that ran along the southern border of the park. And having just built the Belton Chalets and Depot, President Hill quickly drew up plans to build a network of chalets connecting the luxury lodges on the outside of the park to the back country, allowing tourists to view much of the park. As soon as the bill was signed, President Hill jumped into action and began building his hotels and chalets within the park and along its borders as a way of promoting tourism in the park. The chalets were built between 1910 and 1915 and included the St. Mary's Chalets, located at the bottom of St. Mary's Lake, the Going to the Sun Chalets, located at Sun Point on the northwest side of St. Mary's Lake, the Gunsight Lake Chalet, located on the shores of Gunsight Lake, Cutbank Chalet, located on the Cutbank River, Two Medicine Chalets, located on the shores of Two Medicine Lake, the Many Glacier Hotel, located on the Swift Current Lake at Many Glacier Valley, the Goat Haunt Chalet, located at the head of Waterton Lake on the U.S. and Canadian border, Sperry Chalets, located above Lake McDonald, and Granite Chalets, located just below Swift Current Pass. The locations were hand-selected by President Hill himself. Lewis Hill treasured the project so much that he took a sabbatical from the railroad to concentrate on the building projects. All of the buildings were built in the Swiss chalet architecture style, and even included waitresses dressed up as Swiss milkmaids. The repeated architecture reinforced the American Alps theme and gave the park a unified feel. Glacier Park Lodge was added to the list in 1914, along with the Lewis Glacier Hotel on Lake McDonald. Built by John Lewis, it was purchased by Great Northern Railway in 1930 and later renamed Lake McDonald Lodge. Tourists were now able to ride the train to Glacier Park Lodge, just outside of East Glacier, or to the Belton Chalets at the west entrance of the park, and hike or ride to another chalet or lodge within a day. Starting at Glacier Park Lodge, tourists could have hiked the 2 Medicine Chalets over the Mount Henry Trail, and then continued on to Cutbank Chalet over the Cutbank Pass and Mount Stimson. From there, they could have proceeded west towards St. Mary's Chalets, but travelers had to stop overnight at Red Eagle Camp, 9 miles south of the St. Mary's Chalets. Once at St. Mary's, the travelers could have taken the boat across St. Mary's Lake to the Going to the Sun Chalets. From the Going to the Sun Chalets, travelers could have trekked over Sayee Pass and Pegan Pass to the Many Glacier Hotel. And then taken the Swift Current Pass and gone through the Ptarmigan Tunnel to Granite Park Chalets. From Granite Park Chalets, they could have gone north to the Goat Haunt Chalet at Waterton Lake. Or they could have traveled south from Granite Park Chalets to the Lake McDonald Lodge, and finally ending at Belton Chalet to meet the train. The possibilities of adventure were endless, and the tourists would spend weeks, even months, vacationing in the park, hiking or trail riding from one chalet to the next, and seeing the spectacular views Glacier had to offer. However, the weather is formidable in Glacier National Park, and most of the buildings weren't strong enough to withstand the constant beating of wind and snow. In the winter, the chalets were pounded regularly by avalanches. Gunsight Lake Chalet was the first to meet its demise in 1916 when it was decimated by an avalanche. The original Many Glacier Hotel was destroyed by the Heavens Peak Fire in 1936, but was rebuilt soon after. The remaining chalets lost the spotlight when World War II started in 1939 and were destroyed because they were unused and fell into disrepair. Sperry and Granite Chalets were both built out of the native stones and held together by concrete mortar. They are the only backcountry chalets remaining in the park. They were both closed for renovations, but are now open and operating as normal. All the grand hotels in Glacier, including Glacier Park Lodge, Lake McDonald Lodge, Many Glacier Hotel, and Belton Chalets, are still intact and currently operating. The chalets had a brief but important role in the unveiling of Glacier National Park. It was the first and most thorough way to see and experience Glacier. It was very successful in its purpose and served to unite our nation with pride in the beauties that are contained within our borders. When the majority of the chalets were lost to deterioration, we lost treasured moments in history and a culture that once shaped our nation.